it's sad because it's January 1st and I already have my first 1 star.
What?
Hey, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited for today's video. I'm gonna be reading 12 2023 favorites of some of my mutuals. As always, I have a list. Now, on this list, I'm going to be putting more than 12 just so that I have something to pick from. And some of my mutuals haven't posted their top 2023. Today is the first. And just this morning, I saw like 2 or 3 of them post. So I'm going to be adding them to this list. And I say 12. I kind of want to do 23. But I feel like that's a lot to ask for. So with 12, I can at least do 6 in part 1, 6 in part 2. First up on my list is Sex and Rescue by, well, I don't know who it's by, but I got this recommendation off of Shades and Pages top 2023 books. My first book of this vlog is done, and my first book of 2024 is done. So Sex and Rescue was about a woman who was married for like a week or so. She ends up divorcing her husband or annulling the marriage because he ends up going to jail for 4 years for drug dealing. However, when we meet her at the beginning of the book, she's engaged to his best friend, but she broke it off with him because he cheated on her. At her job, she ends up running into her ex-husband, and you know what I mean. They end up getting locked in the elevator together, and we kind of see them rehash all the things. It was short, it was spicy, and a little dramatic. It had a little drama in it. I enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 4 star. The next book that I got was from Instagram. This is from Tanya Reads, and one of her top books of 2023 was Sick Crush by Alta Hensley, or Alta Hensley, I don't know. I've actually heard about this book a lot. I think this came out like maybe 2022 or something. I've read from this author before. I think she has a trilogy, and I may have read only 2 books. I don't think I ever finished the trilogy, so I think I read 2 books. I don't know which one it is. I'm gonna be reading this. Why are y'all popping fireworks? You can't even see anything. The sun is out. The only thing that I know about this one is that it is a stalker romance. So that's all I know. It's short, it's a novella, it's like 180 something pages. I wanted to kind of read as much as possible because I'm off today and I'm off tomorrow. I was able to finish. I have a lot to say. So I almost logged in earlier to say that I was not going to continue reading it because I didn't realize that the character was in high school. And I say high school because it's an academy. And I hate when authors do that. They use the word like academy or boarding school because 1, I feel like they're personally trying to trick me. And 2, I feel like it's their way of trying to get out of people who don't support spicy romances that have high school characters. I feel like it's their way of like trying to trick other people because it's like it's not a high school, it's a boarding school, it's an academy. But anyways, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna continue it anyway because I've heard that this has like a plot twist or something, and I'm just curious what it is. As I was reading it, I was like, do I like this or do I not? Because so this is age gap, it's forbidden, it's student teacher. Those used to be some of my favorite tropes, but I don't really read it anymore because the authors that I do prioritize, they're not writing that. So I'm not really into it anymore. So I'm like, well, do I not like the book because I don't want to read about a 19-year-old, or do I not like the book because it's just not good? So quickly, it's called Sick Crush. once you read it, you'll understand the name of the title. Like, it makes so much sense. We have a girl who is 19. She technically should have already graduated high school, but something happened and she's going to this academy, and she ends up getting with the principal of the school. Number one, it's never stated how old he is. I'm assuming he was late 20s. I don't think he was in his 30s. Still, I think it's very weird that his age is talked about. For example, he'll say like, do you find it weird that like my age or something? And it's like, well, what is the age? I highlighted it. And then I don't want to get into anything else because that's all I'm going to say is they get together. But it was just bad. Like, I got to it. You guys can see my reaction in the other clip, and it's like, it was just so far out there. But not only that, I wanted to read some of the 1-star reviews, and one of them was like it was just boring. And I'm like, yeah, you're totally right. Why am I so close? With this kind of plot, it could have gone one or two ways. It's just the way that it went. The plot twist, first of all, happens at 71% of the book. And I'm like, I put it on my Goodreads when I put in my progress. I'm like, I truly hope that this is not the plot twist that people were talking about, because there's 39 minutes left of the book. What are we going to be doing in 39 minutes? Y'all, that was the plot twist. That was the plot twist at 71% of the book. What? Oh, I just did not like this book at all. It's sad because it's January 1st and I already have my first 1 star. But not only that, I could see some people saying that this was like a top read of theirs. It's not a top read of mine at all. But I feel like I could understand people saying that, I think because of the plot twist. But it was just so easy to guess. And I normally don't take points off for that. I don't care if it's like a thriller or a mystery, or it's like you kind of gotta guess what happens. And if I do guess it, I don't take points off of that. The only time I do is if I just didn't like the journey of getting there. And this was just bad. Sadly. I may have forgotten some other things I wanted to say, but for the most part, I mean, I think I hit everything. We're gonna get into my next book. I think I'm gonna go ahead and read. I'm sorry I'm moving y'all around. I really need to get like a tripod or something. I have two options. I could do Finally Famous or Nobody to Love You Better. I think I'm gonna go with Finally Famous. Now I'm kind of getting into the book recs that I saw that are on the longer side, like 380 pages plus. This was a recommendation that I saw on Melly the Reader on Instagram.
What?
Good morning. I have to go to work. January 2nd, which was yesterday, was my last like day off. We don't have another day off until Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which I think is like in 2 weeks. I finished Finally Famous. Let's talk about it. So I don't even know what to even say about the plot, because with long books like that, it was practically 500 pages, but it wasn't. It was 476 or something. I feel like there's so much that goes on that you kind of lose track of what it's about. But basically, we have a guy named Rollo. That's how I was pronouncing it. It's R-A-H-L-O. And he's a rapper. He's making it big, but he's also still in the hood as well. And he's still best friends with a lot of the people. I say a lot of the people, but he really only has like one best friend. And his best friend is still in the hood. You know what I mean? I'm only mentioning that because it does come up in the book. But he's an up-and-coming rapper, like big time. And then we have Taylor. Taylor is our FMC, and she is working at this bar, or was it a club? I think it's a club, where she meets Rollo. Now, this is where it's a little bit different, because even though the book is about 476 pages and it is a romance, they're not really together as much as you would think, because she's also in a relationship with a guy named Jason. Now, Jason is older. He has a son named Jalen. Taylor has her dad, her grandfather, and a brother on her side. And she doesn't really live with Jason. She kind of stays there sometimes, but she's also still living with her dad. Her mom passed when she was like 16. No, 21. She said it when she was 21, and she's 24. I don't know if they're instantly attracted to each other. I guess so. Taylor and Rollo are instantly attracted to each other, but she doesn't want to cheat. Like, she's with someone. So it's kind of like this back and forth kind of thing. Like, we see them sometimes together. Like, he'll invite her to his listening parties and stuff like that. But it's like, she's not going to go too far to where it's like, girl, what are you doing? But it's crazy because it's so many pages. But again, they're not together that much. But at some point, they do get together. But they both have their own issues. She has her own issues that she's dealing with Jason, because we as a reader can tell, and she can tell herself, she's a smart girl. He's very insecure because his ex-wife, Sherry or Cherie, I think it's Sherry, cheated on him and had a baby on him. He doesn't trust women or whoever he's with, so he will just check her phone. He will ask where she's at and all of that. She don't like that. She don't like people being in her business like that. Like, why are you checking up on me? Like, I'm not. And she doesn't actually care if he checks her phone. Not that she doesn't care. She doesn't make a big hoopla about it because she knows she didn't do nothing. Until one day, he catches her on the phone talking to her friend Kiki. She's basically saying, like, if she weren't with Jason, like, she would totally get with Rollo. And girl, he heard. He didn't. Did he hit her? I don't think he hit her. But he basically had her on lockdown. Like, she could not leave. She could not leave. That's how he sounded. She could not leave wherever they were living, like an apartment or a house. I think it's a house. But anyways, and then we have Rollo. Now, his issue is his family. Not everyone with the exception of his sister. And his security guard, but not buddy, Bruce. His best friend, Duke, who I mentioned is still like, they want to stay best friends, but Duke is still in this lifestyle, you know, and that's not really where Rollo is supposed to be necessarily anymore, because with what you can't have both. His mom, Emery, his dad isn't in his life. He doesn't know who his dad is. Who else? The cousin, who's like older than him, he's 25. I think the cousin's like 40 something. And then the cousin's mama, so his aunt. He paying the girl a mortgage and everything. So that's his issue. His family depending so much on him because they know he has the money. And they feel that, well, why would you not give it to me? Like, and the mama, of course, I brought you in this world, like I deserve it. Girl, get out of here. So that's his issue. It was good. For the longest time, I was like, I think it's going to be a 4. I think it's going to be a 4. I knew it wasn't going to be a 5. But I'm like, I think it's going to be a 4. But then, I don't know, I got to like 50 something percent. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, it's just too long. It's just too long. So I'm going to have to give it a 3.75. And I almost don't even want to. I want to give it a 4 because the ending, y'all. The end, I was like... But you know what? I think had it have been shorter, take 100 pages out, I think that ending would have had an even bigger impact. What made it long was the funny parts. And I find that a lot in urban fiction, because I almost don't even want to say that this is urban romance, because I feel like I read a lot where it's urban romance, but it's really urban fiction. Because yes, it has a romance in it, but there's so much other stuff that we're focusing on. And one thing that I do appreciate about urban fiction, urban romance authors is what they give to us. The stuff that they think of, the action-y parts, the out-of-pocket parts that they think of, that just really, you're reading, it's like a roller coaster when you're reading it. But I will say for this one, I think it was just too much going on at times. So again, I mentioned that they have a lot of funny things. Like, out of all of the urban fiction books that I read, and I was gonna post this on TikTok. That was one of my video ideas that I had, but instead I posted a little vlog of reading at the end because it was so like, psh. I've never read an urban fiction book where they were coming for each other's throats. I was like, what is going on? Kiki and Taylor have a girl named Candy who works with them, or used to, because she does eventually stop working at that club. They talk about that girl breath. They dog that girl out by her breath. Rollo did it to another girl. Like, was it him that said she got a cavity? Yeah, like something like that. Like, y'all, they were dogging each other out. But it was a little too much at times, because especially with the grandpa, she calls him Papa. It's out of pocket. And it's like, it was, again, a little too much. Somebody would say something, he would say something, and then you think that'd be it. Just let it go. Then oh no, I gotta reply back to you. Then I gotta reply back. And then it just becomes this whole long spiel of funny comments, out of pocket comments going back and forth. And sometimes it would actually be repeated. Taylor has a younger brother. She's 16 years older, so he's 8. Named Trooper. Trooper was funny. Trooper was cutting up at school because he didn't like that his dad was dating one of his teachers. The grandpa would mention, like, that's that gentle parenting. You need to whoop him. And then it's like, yeah, that's funny. Like, within the same sentence, Taylor would also kind of like reprimand it, but in like a gentle way. And then you'd be like, then you repeat it again. See, look, your gentle parenting right there. And it's like, you just said that. And I think he talked about gentle parenting about 5 times in there. At least 5 times. There were also a bunch of fat jokes. Honestly, they weren't funny to me. Like, I would be like, but then at some point I'm like, dang, we got another fat joke. The next option, I don't even have my notebook with me, but I'm probably gonna do Drag Me Up by R.M. Virtues, because I actually started it in 2023 and I never finished it. I got to 19%. It's another Persephone and Hades retelling, and kind of overplayed, which is funny because I still don't really remember much about Persephone and Hades. Just that it's always like either a forced proximity trope that they make it into, or enemies to lovers. I don't know. But this book in particular just had a ton of characters that they were talking about, and I'm like, what are y'all talking about? Okay, so I wasn't gonna check in, like I was going to, but then I'm like, nah, let me wait till I'm done with the book. But I wanted to check in anyway, because as I continued reading it, what was that, yesterday? I don't know, it finally dawned on me why I stopped reading it in the first place. Not that I want to stop now, like I'm liking it, but what it was this is Persephone and Hades, whatever. And what it is I'm not repeating those words. 1, I know nothing about Greek mythology. I eat it up every time, but I know nothing about it. I can't tell you how many I've read, and I still don't know the connections with the characters, like how Zeus is connected to Hades, Poseidon, I don't know none of that. Typically in books, they'll tell me the connection. I'll read it, but I'll forget it. What's her face? Katie Robert, their book. It's at the beginning of the book, and I still don't get it. It's just not, and I have a headache. I can't be shaking my head like that. And it feels like in this book, you needed to know previously who they were and how they're connected to each other. I don't think R.M. Virtues explained how, like, they did but didn't. I don't know. It was just weird. Typically, in a Hades and Persephone retelling or reimagining, it's either always forced proximity and or enemies to lovers. No, it's always enemies to lovers. But occasionally it might be forced proximity. Not this one. I don't even know what you would call it. It's insta-love. Like, this is the definition of insta-love right here. And that's not bad, but I'm not quite... Oh yeah, I think I'm halfway now. I'm about 50% of the way through. And I'm positive it's more than likely going to be a 4-star because even though I like insta-love, I don't like for it to be obvious. I don't want to be able to tell that it's insta-love. I do have thoughts once I finish it. Hey y'all. So I did finish Drag Me Up by the hardest. I think I said in the last clip that I was more than likely going to give it a 4. I'm going to actually give it a 3. It's not bad. Everything that I said in the last clip still stands. I just can't see myself giving this a 4, and I wasn't into the plot itself. The romance was great. I believe that they belong together because I've definitely read somewhere it didn't even feel like I didn't believe in the connection between the characters, but in this I did. But even though I read romance and romance is typically character driven, I do prefer like a plot driven book. And I just wasn't into the plot. I was so confused, all those names, and y'all, there were so many names, and I'm like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. I don't know what is going on. The end, I did like the epilogue. The book was kind of putting me in a slump as well. It wasn't giving like I wanted it to. And I know it's not the author because I have read Sing Me to Sleep back in like the beginning of 2022 or something. And I enjoyed that. You know what it is too? I don't think I'm into Greek mythology retellings anymore. I think it's past. I love retellings in general, but maybe Greek mythology just isn't the one for me because I cannot remember for the life of me the, what do you call it? Greek mythology in general. Like you can, and I'm interested in it. That's the thing. I'm interested in it. You can teach me however much you want. I guarantee you it's going in one ear and out the other. Something just with Greek mythology just does not, it don't be clicking up here. I have 2 more books. I think next I'm going to be reading a novella because y'all, I'm ready to wrap this video up. I know. I don't normally do 6 books in a video. I normally do 3. I'm ready to read something else. And it's crazy because I made sure that I had a list of books so that I could choose from. But a lot of them, y'all, they're so freaking long. Why are these books so long? So for this video, I'm going to finish it off with 2 books on the shorter side. One is a novella and the other is the most recent book in the Mafia Misfits series by Asia Monique. It's about 250 pages. So I think that's what we're going to end the video off with. Y'all, I had a stand for my camera this whole time. I didn't know I could put it on there. I have an update. It's a good and a not so good one. At the end of the last clip, I said that I had started reading. I was going to do 2 more books for this video, and I was going to do a novella and the slightly longer book. It's not a novella, but it's just a short novel. However, I ended up starting the novella one. It was called Daddy's Maybe. I can't. And I knew that if I continued, it would have been a 1-star. And I'm like, just let me stop myself while I'm ahead because I don't even think that I can push through and read it. I DNF'd. Instead, I have decided to just go ahead and read the one by Asia Monique, which is what I'm reading now. I am only like 11% of the way through, but I'm really enjoying it. I found myself kind of getting into a slump, which is why I said that I kind of wanted to just hurry up and end this video because I'm like, I'm a little tired. But this book itself, it's kind of like, you got me there. I guess I'm gonna pick one more book for this. I'm gonna have to swap out the one that I DNF'd. I wasn't going to, I was just gonna leave it because I want to get this video over with. But I'm gonna go ahead and swap it out with something. And out of all of the books that I had written down, that is the one book that I just was not positive about at all. I mean, I wasn't positive that I was gonna like it. Okay, so I need to put on my sunscreen first. I finished Sinful Enforcer, and I am gonna give it a 4.5. This was about, I should have put the picture. I got this recommendation, well, from myself technically, but I pushed myself to read it because it was on Khadijah's top 2023 wrap up. But I've read the series. This is book 6. It feels like a continuous story. Like you kind of, it's a standalone, but it says like, you know, you don't have to read the other books. However, it's suggested. However, it's also important to know that I think all of these books, yes, they're kind of one and the same story-wise. Like there is like an underlying storyline between them, but it's out of order. So like this book, the way the storyline is, it feels like it comes right after book 1, even though it's book 6. Something like that. It feels kind of out of order. Like we've gone back in time to kind of fill in a little gap with that overarching storyline or whatever that's called. There's a pronunciation for her name in the other books. She changed the style of this one, like the format in the beginning. She used to have pronunciations. It's not in this one. It's in the other ones and I'm too lazy to go check. It's spelled G-A-I-A, and this is, she's not Italian herself. She said that her godmother, who's married to an Italian, named her. I was saying Gia at first, but honestly, the way that it's spelled, hold on. But I was saying Gaia. That's just how I was pronouncing it in my head. So we have a woman named Gaia who is, I forgot, oh, she's like the hacker for her family mafia business. I gotta get my stuff ready for work. I love this stand. There is another guy named Rocco, but his name is Ricardo. He is the enforcer, don't really ask me what that means, of the mafia. I think that just means like he's like the muscle. You know? I think he's the muscle. Apparently, again, with this storyline, they need to go, is it out of the state or just out of the city? They need to travel to DC, which is his hometown, find some information. He wants Gaia to, I'm gonna call her G. He wants G to go with her. G is under the impression like she has to go, even though her cousin Lucia, who's from the first book, she's like, well, I mean, like, if you really don't want to go, like, you can work remote. Because that's, like, what she's like. She don't understand, like, I can work remote. I can do the little from home. She goes anyway. We find out from his point of view, from Rocco's point of view, that she really don't need to go, but he wants her to go. Like, he's trying to get with her. Not on no sexky time, but, like, he's really interested in her. He just doesn't know how to go about it. And actually, the way that he was talking to Enzo, who is from the first book, I was thinking, because a lot of times books in series, books by authors who I've read before, I kind of do go in blind. I don't really read what it's about because I already know I like the author. If it's a series I've started, I know kind of what the series is. I thought he was like a prince or something, because it sounded like he was keeping a secret. I thought he was like a prince or something. He was going to use her like, you don't know this, but we getting married. I thought that's what he was going to be doing. Or like a little fake dating because he needed her for like his family. Not really. He just is into her, and he kind of thought this would be their way of, or his way of like swooning her, you know, while they're away. And that's what happens. While they're there, get together, and that is kind of where that 4.5 comes in. I ended up rounding it up to a 5, and on Storygraph it don't matter because I can do a half, a 0.5 in the rating. Their romance was a little fast. I think it wasn't as fast as Drag Me Up, and I feel like that's a perfect example to kind of pit against each other, because with Drag Me Up, I mean, by the first time that they had sexks, they were already thinking about, well, what do you want to do? What do you mean what I want to do? What? Whereas in this one, they did already know each other, just not that well. But you know what it is? They skipped dating, and it turns into a fiance situation. I don't want to get into it, but it turns into a fiance situation, and that kind of threw me off. That was a little quick in my opinion. My last book, I am starting Losing Control by J.J. Arias. This should be a Latinx sapphic romance. I don't see Latinx anywhere written on it, but I'm pretty sure it is. I feel like I can talk a little bit more about the book. As you can tell by the sound of my voice, we're about to get into it. Kind of forbidden, but it's one of those forbidden romances where it's forbidden in the storyline, if that makes sense. Like in real life, it might not be that forbidden. I don't know. But it's between an artist and the manager, the talent manager or whatever. We have Roxy. Roxy is the singer. And Adriana, who is the talent manager. That's it. That's the plot. Roxy is going on tour, but oh, I remember. The road manager, tour manager, whatever, ends up quitting because he catches his daughter riding, riding, you know who, Roxy, somewhere, and he's like, so I just don't remember if he quit or she fired him. I think he quit, and now she needs someone. Of course, she goes to her talent manager, who is Adriana, talent manager, whatever, that's her job. Cannot find anyone to manage this tour. So her boss that's over her, Natalia, I think her name is Natalia. She's like, well, you know, you gotta solve it. She's like, well, I guess I'm gonna do it. So now she's on tour with Roxy on this tour bus. So I am I'm 55% of the way through. I'm only on page 191. The book is not even that long. The problem is, I've always said that I don't mind short chapters. I love short chapters. But because the chapters are so short, there's a lot of chapters. There's about 55 chapters, and the book is only 330 pages, 334. I don't think I like short chapters anymore because now it just feels like it's dragging, and what's making it worse is that this is the slowest burn I've ever read. This burn is so slow, and I think it's because this is one of the slow burns where we are getting tons of sexy moments between them, and yet it's not going further. They're stopping, and it's really Adriana because she's like, we just can't do this. Like, I'm the manager. We're gonna get caught or whatever. Roxy's all for it, and it is a little bit of an age gap. I don't think it's that much, and honestly I feel like when the age gaps are with older characters, the author doesn't really highlight it that much, which I think is very interesting. It's just there, you know. But Roxy is in her 30s. She's about, I don't know, I may have highlighted it in here, maybe 34, 30, 31, I don't know. But Adriana is 38, so it's a little bit of an age gap. I have a feeling if they did mention Roxy's age, she's early 30s, but she's not. Was she 29? I don't think she was 29. She's in early 30s. It's always Adriana like, no, let's just kiss on the cheek. And so we'll have this scene where it's kissing, but it's not. I think they've already kissed on the lips. That's like the first little thing, but they haven't done it since. And they have this scene where it's just a sexy moment with just kissing on the cheek and the neck and the chest, and you know, and it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing at this point? Y'all are just going back and forth. And it's like other slow burns that I read, which I don't like slow burns anyway. I would have read this regardless. But other slow burns, it's like there's not many sexy moments. It's just kind of like, stop playing, like just go ahead and do it. Whereas this one, they are having sexy moments, and it's like, why aren't y'all just going further? Like, just be together. But it's also because it feels like I've read so much, but I haven't. I'm only 55% of the way through, so that's not helping. So good news, bad news. Good news is I finished it. Yay! Bad news is I'm giving it a 3.5. For the purpose of Goodreads, I've actually rounded it down to a 3-star. Everything still stands that I said in the previous clip. I think my biggest issue is I went into this with the wrong mindset. I went into it thinking it was going to be super spicy, and that's the mood that I was in. That's what I got from the cover. I was getting super spicy, and the fact that it was just the slowest burn that I've ever read, it was too much back and forth with the whole like, well, I like you, but I don't. And what ended up happening was they end up going the whole way. 80%. At the 80% mark is when they finally do the do. Now they're doing the do so much in the last 20%. So instead of having, you still could have had a slow burn, but, find the right moment for them to actually do the do somewhere before the 80% mark to where the pacing was good. But instead, you decide to put the do scene at 80% after we've had all this long stretch of just tense moments, and then now they're humping like bunnies. That doesn't work for me in books. It ruined the book for me. I still 100% trust all of my peeps who I included in here. I still trust them. So that's it for today's video. I will see you next week, maybe. I don't know. Bye! Thumbnail time. Can you see the window? Wait. Okay, wait. Because I need to be more still in these thumbnails. I need to actually pose because it's so hard to get the picture after. Why do I always do that? That's corny. That's corny. I'll just do a smile. Why do I always scratch my nose?